Hello my Luminites, it is Ivy. If you are new here, hello, my name is Ivy, also known as Intuitive Ivy, and here on this channel as well as on my Instagram and on my TikTok. Today, we're gonna be talking about tarot and oracle. It is the end of the year, and last year I made a video talking about the best of the best tarot and oracle card decks, as well as the worst of the worst tarot and oracle card decks. Over the course of 2021, I bought quite a few decks. So these aren't exactly decks that came out in 2021, but decks that I did purchase in 2021. I wanted to make this video and basically just talk about the best of the best and the worst of the worst. Again, this is just my personal opinion. My opinion is going to be very different from your own, so please keep that in mind. I don't have my glasses on, so I am blind without my glasses, but I just don't want that reflection on there. I mean, you're still gonna see the reflection in my eye, but at least it won't be as bad as like this, you know? We are going to first just go ahead and start off with the worst of the worst. So we're gonna start off with the worst oracle card decks, and then we're gonna start with the worst, the top three or bottom three worst tarot decks as well. Coming in at number 3 for the worst oracle deck is going to be Crystals, the Stone deck. So in the front of the deck, you just see the crystal. So very simplistic, just a simple white background as you can see, and then just the crystal just smack down in the middle of the card, and it's like that for each one. These cards, as you can see, are very, very long. They're very, very big, so they can be a little bit hard to shuffle, especially if you're like doing the gypsy shuffle sideways or the waterfall shuffle. No, the waterfall shuffle is a little bit easier, but the like gypsy shuffle to the side is definitely going to be harder. And if you are one of those people that casino shuffles, it's going to be almost mission impossible to shuffle these cards. I feel like this deck is so simplistic. There's nothing that screams like beauty to me. There's nothing that captivates me. There's nothing that really I feel called or drawn to. On the back of the cards, it tells you what each crystal means, as well as what it is, who needs it, where to put it, and when to use it. For some reason, I have actually had this deck since 2020, I want to say, and I probably used it once. And the only reason why I bought this deck in the first place was because I saw a lot of people do the pick your card, the pick a card tarot readings, and they would put a crystal on top. And back then I didn't have too many crystals at all, so I would use these cards. So I thought it would be cool to use these cards instead of having to buy all these crystals. Now I have a lot of crystals. I have more than I need, and so I don't feel the necessity to have this deck. So this is actually going to be a deck that I'm going to be decluttering, which I'm going to give away, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so coming in at number 2, the bottom of the oracle decks this is called the, I believe it's like Cosmic Shaman Oracle. It's a simple oracle deck. Yeah, the Cosmic Shaman Oracle deck. This is basically like a yes or no tarot deck, or oracle card deck that gives you like a yes or no answer. When I first got this deck, I thought it was so beautiful, even though it's black and white and it's very simple. I thought the illustration in the back was gorgeous, and I like the fact that like the no cards are black, the yes cards are like white, and it has that pattern. It has that little like yin and yang thing going on. It has duality, it has unsure. And then it gives you a little bit of a like, it won't just give you like a yes or no answer. It'll give you like a little quote, which I thought was really cute. And then at the bottom there's a word that should kind of be your mantra for why you got that no answer, or why you got that yes answer, which I thought was really cute. However, after using it on quite a few readings for different people, I noticed that it wasn't that accurate. I've tried so many different techniques to cleanse this deck to see if that's what it was, but I'm still consistently having inaccurate readings with yes or no answers. So not that this is a bad deck or it's just going to be inaccurate for everyone, but to me that just tells me that this deck just simply didn't choose me. So and that's okay. Like sometimes you're gonna get a deck that no matter how hard you try to work with it, you're not going to be able to. You don't want to force that connection. It's like trying to force somebody to like you. Decks have their own energy, and this deck is no different. Decks have their own energy, so you can't, if they choose not to work with you, it's simply just meant to be that way, and you can't really do too much about it, and that is honestly okay. Like there's nothing wrong with that. So not that I hate this deck, not that I have anything against this deck, it just simply didn't choose me, and that's why I don't use it, and that's why I'm going to declutter it, and hopefully in January it goes to a home that for somebody that it does really connect to. Okay, so coming in at number 1, the worst of the worst Oracle decks of 2021 it has to be the Precious Gems Oracle. This is a deck that came in one of the 9 of Earth tarot boxes, tarot and Oracle card boxes. And this was a deck that when I first got it, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. It kind of did weird me out, these like random faces that are on them. The back of these cards are absolutely stunning. I love the colors. I love the like intricacy of it. I love how it's just so cute and classy looking. All the gemstones around it, it has this like very like classy, very like rich, luxurious vibe to it. However, when you flip to the front, I was just not quite fond of these faces staring back at me. I don't know, not that like I have anything wrong with it, like these women are stunning, but for some reason I just didn't vibe with it. Let's get to the bottom 3 worst tarot decks of 2021. So starting in at number 3 is the Crystal Visions Tarot. So the Crystal Visions Tarot was a deck that again came in the 9 of Earth Tarot and Oracle card box. This was a tarot deck that I, at first, honestly, right off the bat, I'm not gonna lie, right off the bat, I just wasn't vibing with it. The illustrations are not the type of illustrations that I tend to be drawn to. I like the theme of it. It's like these like fairy angels. They look like fairies / angels. But again, for some reason, I just did not vibe with it. The illustrations are a little, I don't know, it's just not that there's anything wrong with the illustrations. Like the illustrations are beautiful, but it's not just personally like type of a style of drawing that I personally feel called to. All right, so coming in at number 2 is Tarot del Dios de los Tres. So this is a deck that again I got in the 9 of Earth box, and when I first got it, I was like, oh, this is kind of cute, because the whole box was very tiger themed, and my fiance calls me a tiger, so I was kind of excited for this deck. But upon looking at the cards, I didn't really like them. Like it just did not make too much sense to me. Even if you were to use your intuition, I feel like the cards still don't really make sense. Like there's not too much to go off of on these cards. Like some of the cards are very pretty, especially the major arcana, but the minor arcana are very bland and blah. And it's literally just like a whole bunch of, like the cups are like a whole bunch of cups and like a random face in the middle. Like I'm like, oh, what is this? It just looks like a jumbled mess. And again, this was probably just a deck that like I didn't choose it and it didn't choose me. Like we just didn't like each other. Like we kind of clashed. So, and that's okay. Okay, so coming in at number 1, the worst of the worst tarot deck has to be another one that unfortunately came in the 9 of Earth Tarot and Oracle card box, and that is Tarot Made Easy. So this is a tarot deck that was complete with a booklet, and this was a deck that is for beginners. Like if you're new to tarot, this is going to be a deck that you might enjoy. I don't know why I did not like this deck. I was thinking about giving away the deck and the book, but then I was like, no, I might use the deck. So I just gave away the book in my last giveaway, because the book that teaches you how to do tarot doesn't specifically have to go with the deck, with this deck. It could go with any different deck. It just simply teaches you how to do tarot. But I don't know if I just have that like regret or that thought in me that I'm like, oh, like I should have just gave it away. But now I just don't like this deck. I don't feel called to it. I don't think it's anything different from what I have. If I was a beginner, I probably would enjoy this deck. I probably would turn to this deck because it is very much based off of the Rider-Waite Tarot. But I think it's just the style of drawing. I don't know what it is. Because the style of drawing isn't that bad. I don't know what it is about this deck that just I don't feel called to. I just don't feel like it's different. I just don't feel like it's anything that I need. I don't feel like it's anything that like is going to give me something. It's not something that's gonna, it's not a deck that's gonna give me something out of it that my other decks don't have. It's not unique in any sort of way, and even if I were to just do an intuitive reading, there's not much here that I wouldn't get with anything else. So I didn't like it. It has to be probably unfortunately the worst deck out of all of them. For the top 3 Oracle decks of 2021. So these are going to be decks that I used very consistently. So number 3 on my top 3 list was the Sacred Self-Care Oracle deck. This is a deck that was created by the same woman that made Goddess Provisions. You can see my dog in the background. This is a deck that I was consistently using in the beginning of the year because I was sending out my friends prompts to do, like different journal prompts to do, plus one self-care act of the day. They really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed it, and I liked picking one thing from here and being like, oh, okay, like I gotta make sure that I, even if it's just this one thing, that self-care act that I do today, at least I know that I did some sort of act of self-care. I am very much a very pastel, rainbowish type of girl, so having a pastel rainbow palette, color palette in a deck is something that I absolutely love, that I find very, very stunning. This is very different from any deck that I have. Okay, so coming in at number 2 is the Arcana of Astrology. So this deck looks like this. This is a deck that I have had my eye on for pretty much all of 2021. However, I didn't know too much about astrology. Astrology is something that I had been wanting to get into for a very long time. But I joined the Cosmic Academy of Astrology. Now I know a lot more. It provides so much more in-depth perception to readings, so this adds a whole new deeper layer to reading. I love this deck so freaking much. It's not anything that's over the top. It's very simplistic, and for this one it works. Okay, so coming in at number 1, the number 1 Oracle card deck that I loved in 2021 was this one right here. This is the Prism Oracle deck. This is another one that is very, very simplistic, but I enjoyed it so much because this is a deck that is meant to be used with your intuition. So I love this deck. I love the holographic etchings on the sides. I love the rainbow prism colors in the back, and I love each and every individual card in the front as well. So we will have a very simplistic drawing as you can see, and then we'll have one card that describes it. So you'll get your, but I love because when you use it alongside tarot, when you use it alongside another oracle card deck as well, when you use it all together combined, you get a very descriptive, very in-depth vision of what exactly it's trying to tell you and the message behind it. If you were to get like passion and you were to get like the hero font, for example, it would be like passion for higher learning, passion for pursuing a stricter form of learning. So it gives you an even, like, it just gives you a more in-depth look at what exactly the tarot and the oracle and whatever message is meant for you. All right, so now let's get to the top 3 tarot decks of 2021. So coming in at number 3, we have the Good Karma Tarot. This is a tarot deck that is so freaking cute. It's so cute. Like, this is a very modernized tarot deck. There's a lot of women in here of all sorts of shapes and colors. There's women with tattoos, with colored hair, and I love that. The illustrations are very beautiful and very simple, yet they tell a big story. If you, for example, are a beginner, it makes it very easy for you to use both what you know about the cards plus your intuition in order to grasp a meaning for the card. Just because it can be very easily made for beginners doesn't mean that you have to be a beginner to enjoy this deck. I am a pretty experienced reader, but I still enjoy the simplicity of this deck. Okay, so coming in at number 2, there was a fight for this one, like, for sure. It was between this deck and another deck, the Santa Muerte Tarot. This deck is so beautiful. I am Mexican, like, that is my heritage, that is my background. I'm Mexican. And I very much pride myself in being called a Mexican witch. Not a Mexican bruja, that's something completely different. I don't practice brujeria because brujeria is its own entity, but I am a Mexican, as in my, like, heritage, my background, witch. So I put it on my Instagram. I believe I put it on my TikTok too. Like, so I take very much a lot of pride in that. I take a lot of pride in working with my ancestors. I want to work with my cultural background. This deck is my culture. This deck is my roots. This deck is me. It's my background. It's my heritage. So it's very important to me. All right, so for the grand finale, coming in at number 1, the number 1 tarot deck. It happens to be the most least expected deck that I would have ever even thought about putting in this. The Rider-Waite Tarot. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm saying that. I used to talk so much smack about this deck. I did not have anything good to say about this deck ever, ever, ever. So surprise when I actually got this deck. I'm obsessed with this deck. This is a deck that is the number 1 widely, most commonly used deck. We're like besties. We went from being enemies to being like besties. That is it, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you haven't yet, please consider hitting that subscribe button and turning on that notification bell to be notified when I post. I post 3 times a week. Thank you so much. Please let me know, what are your top 3 oracle card decks, tarot decks, and your bottom 3 tarot decks and oracle card decks? Let me know down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all so, so much.